Okay, and you have two daughters. When they come back home and they leave their Stanley cups lying around, do you ever think about getting a post-birth abortion?
Thank you for raising that because there's no such thing.
Great.
So I think it's really important for us to make sure people understand that.
Today, I'm with the woman from Michigan, the woman that Donald Trump will not name but can't stop talking about. She battled a pandemic, she flipped Michigan, she took on an armed militia, and still found the time to fix the damn roads. I'm joined by none other than Gretchen Whitmer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, I'm glad to be with you.
So what are your favorite chips and why?
Well, I love Better Made chips because they're made in Detroit, of course, and they're delicious. And I've seen them made, and I've eaten them right off the line, and there's nothing.
No way. They let you into the factory?
Yeah, they did.
Wow. Okay, let's open them up.
All right.
Let's see what it's all about.
These are potato sticks, so
yes,
they're a little
it's
different,
all I
but
could find.
they're kind of fun.
know.
Aren't they good?
Crispy. And what about the chip factory? Any secrets? Any things you can share about what goes on there?
No, I peeled some potatoes. It's just cool manufacturing happening in Michigan and agriculture. We've got the second most diverse agriculture in the country after California.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit from chips to abortion. You have been such a big proponent of reproductive rights for women. You also are very uniquely positioned to talk to people who don't agree with you, right? You've really managed to do superhuman things in Michigan on so many different issues. How do you approach talking about reproductive rights with someone who is against abortion?
Well, I always want to make a seat at the table for someone who doesn't see the world the same way. You know, I know that if we're not talking to one another, we have zero shot of finding common ground. So we've got to at least start the conversation. During our, work on reproductive rights in Michigan, I sat across the table from so many Republican women who looked me in the eye and they said, I am not a Democrat. I did not vote for you in 2018, but I'm knocking doors because you are the only one who's talking about this issue. And it's important to me, even though I'm on the other side of the aisle. You know, for people who don't agree with me on reproductive rights, I'm confident there's other things that we could find common ground on. But it starts with talking to one another. It starts with listening. It starts with actually asking someone else questions and not judging them, but trying to understand.
Right, listening and actually not just listening to come up with your point, but actually listening to what they value and what they care about.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have two daughters. When they come back home and they leave their Stanley cups lying around, do you ever think about getting a post-birth abortion?
Well, first of all, thank you for raising that because there's no such thing.
Great.
So I think it's really important for us to make sure people understand that when people like Donald Trump say that after birth abortion, that's just not really a thing that exists. So, but I understand the sentiment when you're talking about leaving cups and dishes around. Every parent in America knows that feeling where you want your kid just to put the damn cup in the dishwasher.
You know what? It's so hard when we're home. It's like that part of a brain just shuts off. I'm sorry. As a daughter, I'm partially responsible. Okay, and then speaking of men who lie, would you rather be in a forest alone with Donald Trump or with a bear?
A bear.
A bear?
Yes.
Why?
Because I might have a better shot of reasoning with the bear.
He'll actually listen to women? Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to talk about, obviously you were involved in this horrible kidnapping plot, but you actually wanted to sit down with one of the men who planned this kidnapping plot against you. What was the reason for that? What was behind that? What was your intention?
Well, like I said, I love to listen and try to understand what's going on with people. Now, there were 14 people out of 330 million in this country. There were 14 who decided they wanted to kidnap and kill the governor who told them to wear a mask. No. I want to understand what was really going on there. That's not a rational thing. There were a couple of them who cooperated with the government and testified against their fellow co-conspirators and showed remorse. Those are the people that I'd like to just see if there's something to learn from it. That'll make me a better governor, help me understand so that I can be a better human being. Maybe there's some value that could happen from it, and I'd like to try.
Wow, that's incredible. And it sort of taps into this conversation, I think, nationally, of how we address masculinity, how we address a lot of men who feel disaffected, who feel lost, and who end up being vulnerable to joining extremist groups like the one that you were a victim of. Do you think that we're addressing that issue in the right way? And do you think that it's again, you know, about listening and about trying to understand, even though people are acting in ways that are, violent and inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about what's happening with younger males in this country, right? Whether it is in our suburbs or in rural areas, you know, I do want to understand, because I do care about every person. I want to make sure that every person has a path to prosperity. Yeah. This is why I think, you know, this moment and thinking about all the great stuff that has happened in manufacturing and good paying jobs that are now growing across the country, and advanced manufacturing, it's gives people opportunity and hope and a way to take care of their families and live their version of the American dream. I want to make sure that as we're navigating what comes next, that there's opportunity for every person, and that means, you know, listening and understanding what's really going on with people.
Yeah. And do you feel like the Democratic Party has done a good job of speaking to men directly, right? Because the right is talking to them. Donald Trump has invested a lot of money, a lot of time, J.D. Vance too, on going on these podcasts, going into the manosphere, and sort of they're offering a response to that. What's the Democratic response to men who feel like the party has given up on them?
I think Democrats want to solve problems, you know, and that's a good thing. Yeah. I think you're right that the other side is connecting, but they're feeding the anger. They're not solving the problems. I think that's a really, really diametrically different approach. One wants to benefit themselves by feeding someone else's anger, and the other wants to actually address the anger and give people a path forward. And so I do think we've got probably work to do to make sure that we're connecting with people where they are, in the manosphere or wherever it is. I've never heard that phrase until you just used it. But I appreciate the wisdom of that, because I do think we got to meet people where they are. It's not about thinking one's worthy or the other. It's about making sure that every person's got that opportunity.
Right. And what would you say to a man who feels like he can't vote for a woman? He can't vote for Kamala Harris.
I think, you know, we deserve and need a commander-in-chief who is tough. We're going to have to deal with, you know, the worst of the worst bullies around the globe, from Vladimir Putin to, you know, Chinese leadership to what's happening in North Korea. We've got to have a tough commander-in-chief, not someone who kowtows or changes their mind every 5 minutes, or who you can't believe, or who is on an ego trip. Kamala Harris stood her ground in that debate. I think she showed she is worthy of being our commander-in-chief, and regardless of what the gender of the two are, there's one who's qualified and ready to go and is tough enough for the job, and that's Harris. Again,
you have such a unique experience of being able to talk to people and sort of, you know, bring them to your side. What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about working across the aisle? What do you think is holding back people from talking to their neighbors who don't agree with them or who have the opposite signs as they do? What would be your message to those people?
I think it's preconceived notions, and we're just talk to people who agree with us, and we're better off, and we're learning if we're talking to people who have a little different perspective or lived experience. You know, I will tell you that some of the best friends that I've made over the course of my political career were on the other side of the aisle. People who, we would roll up our sleeves and we could duke it out on the floor and then go out and have a beer afterward. And I think that's something that is lost today, where people see someone who doesn't agree with them and they just consider them an opponent or enemy on all fronts. We all pay a price for that. And I think we feel it in the stress of everyday life in this country. We feel it in a Congress that's not getting the job done, whether it's, you know, working together to secure the border or create opportunity for people. It is, you know, we all pay a price when we lack that ability and that skill and that curiosity.
Yeah, love that. Be curious, not furious.
Exactly.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. For whatever this is, eating chips together. Cheers.
Cheers.